Alright everybody, this is Evo Freaks here, and casting with me is
Evo Woodhouse.
And this is going to be game 1 of the grand finals of the ThanksLANing StarCraft 2 tournament between Scorah and LaserDrill. Do you want to give the intro up on top right, or top left there?
Spawning up in the top left-hand corner, we do have our orange Protoss player coming out of second place in the last tournament. We do have Scorah.
And there in the bottom right, you guys just saw LaserDrill, the Zerg player, and going around with some banter there. Apparently, good things to be had in the loading screen.
Yeah, and we actually saw that out of LaserDrill quite a bit during this tournament. It is also important to note that the sound quality between games 1 and 2 is a little bit different. That's actually my fault. I'm going to go ahead and claim that, as both of these players are just going to continue to do their good normal stuff. Up to 10 food. I would hope nothing crazy happens.
What are they talking about?
I don't know. I don't remember the exact conversation.
We don't get to know Scott's secret.
Scotty doesn't know.
Scotty doesn't know. His secret is cheese, as we have seen every game against Brian and Aurelius.
We do see, though, that the probes did just high-five there. We are not going to see, though, an early Forge Expo that I know at least I have seen out of Scorah. I know in the finals of the summer tournament, he definitely liked the Forge Fast Expand opening, but definitely deciding not to go for that now, and instead actually opting to go for a Gateway first.
Gateway Expand, possibly? I mean, I'm hoping he doesn't do another all-in.
Yeah, and that's something that's almost concerning. It seems like a lot of the builds that he likes to fall back on are those all-in type of builds, and those are things like Mass Gateway all-ins.
I wasn't exactly sure what David's talking about there. Check it, Blake.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure either. It's important to note with that conversation that it happened at the LAN, so it's a little bit unclear as to what was necessarily going on. The drone just going to go ahead and continue to poke around here at the natural, seeing that the probe is going to be ever so pesky, but he does decide to go over and take his third instead. Spawning pool is about 3/4 of the way done now for LaserDrill.
Getting a cyber core instead of or 2 gates, so clearly not seeing a 1-gate expand.
Well,
this is really going.
He did drop the cyber core down, and actually this is something for a while in the metagame that you saw out of Protosses. Specifically in like the PvP matchup, it did surface a little bit in PvZ, but they would go double gateway before Cybercore. And actually, Scorah probably is really confused right now, not seeing that natural come down for LaserDrill.
Well, it's pretty standard to go ahead and grab your third if your second's denied, isn't it? Or your natural is denied. I would think it would be kind of assumed, especially considering those games we saw between Scorah and J-Lely a couple months ago. I mean, that was a best of 7, and what, like every game he denied the natural, and he just stole a third, so
yeah, exactly.
Used to it.
The only thing that concerns me with that a little bit, though, is that actually makes the Zerg really, really vulnerable, depending upon how they decide to build it out. Now, obviously, here LaserDrill has some lanes that we see running across the map now, but in the early times, before people started doing that, they would take that third, but it left them really vulnerable. And actually, in a game that I recently posted to YouTube, Stefano takes that third without actually getting a spawning pool. So he's basically running on drones. And if any sort of timing push were to hit during that time, he would obviously be out of luck.
Yeah, and I mean, with those 2 gateways, obviously you can put on some faster pressure there. I mean, I think that would be a good call for Scorah right now if he actually scattered out that, right now he's running on, well, grab that third base that is completely separated from his main. There's no natural in between there, and he's got a couple stalkers moving out right now. I wonder what they're going to go ahead and do.
In all reality, I think this is mostly just to deny map control to LaserDrill. I mean, obviously, Scorah, very, very, I almost want to say him build-oriented player, depending upon what the situation is.
Yeah.
And he wants to try and deny vision into his main.
We're seeing a 4-gate robo, by the way. 2 more gateways drop down, and the robo is just about finished.
I'm not sure how I feel about that, and actually, this is more than likely what he's trying to hide.
Yeah.
I know I've made comments in previous casts, this is exceeding well above and beyond what you can support off of one base.
There comes the Robo Bay.
So weird. Definitely. This is going to be an all-in. I would like to point that out at this point.
Of course.
There's no real way he can work off of this unless he expands right as he moves out, and even then the delay in economy is going to be enough to cause some problems.
Yeah, and it looks like he did just chrono out his observer just to get that out there, and LaserDrill hasn't even... Oh, now, mark my words, there he goes, and he grabs his natural right there, so he's going to be ending up on 3 bases. You know, if he comes out on top from an all-in push, then he's definitely going to, you know, have this game in the bag at that point.
I would also like to point out this is actually, what is it, 6 gateways coming out behind this, which...
What's the advantage of putting down 2 more gateways? I mean, because, you know, with a 4-gate, isn't it, you know, widely accepted that you can only run off of 4 gates on 1 base optimally? So having those 2 extra gates...
3 gates and a limited robo is generally what you can economically support. We do see these 2 stalkers down here trying to get deny some more map control and actually getting caught by those lings.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally you can only support 3 gateways in a robo, and I say that with the robo being very limited to maybe 1 or 2 colossi, or not colossi, but immortals before you expand. Otherwise, you run into deficits where you can't actually produce off of it. Now, Scorah has to have something major up his sleeve, otherwise this just is flat out not going to work. He can't support it for very long, and even if he does bank a large sum of money, he's only mining off of 16 probes, maybe 19 tops in that main.
Yeah. Would you have gone, or, you know, from, I guess, your personal experience, do you think it would have been worth it to go for 6 gateways as opposed to just 4? I mean, I have a feeling that those 2 extra gateways are just absolutely worthless.
To be completely honest with you, I wouldn't have done his build anyway. The closest thing I've ever done to it is actually I've met a few random Zergs on the ladder, and I mean random as in they rolled random and got Zerg, where you go for some sort of a safer opening, and I actually end up going with a 6-gate push into a robo after expanding. So I mean, you can safely expand behind the 3 gateways, and you know,
but that's just it. You've got to expand.
Yeah, that's the key to this, and actually we don't see that expand coming out of Scorah yet.
If he's not planning on expanding, those 2 gateways aren't going to do much for him.
Yeah, and like I said, eventually he'll hit that brick wall where he doesn't have money to produce out of them, and that becomes the issue. This is meant to cripple your opponent severely, even bring him back down into your level of play, and then you both either expand or one of you loses. So
we do see that LaserDrill did evacuate all of his drones from this 3rd base just to keep him safe from that Colossus, and looks like LaserDrill's actually a little scared to go after him right now.
And actually, rightfully so. That's actually a pretty scary force. And then knowing that there probably is a hidden pylon somewhere, as we do see a round of stalkers getting warped in on that high ground pylon. You know, knowing that there's that swell of units that's going to be coming.
And he's going to try and get a surround here, but again, Scorah's got decent unit control here, so he's going to be able to get up on that ramp. Force and actually, to back off.
It takes a little bit of work for LaserDrill to even get one unit
snipe the Colo.
Yeah.
I think sniping that Colo is a huge blow at this point. I mean, I know there's a lot of roaches, so immortals are pretty important, but losing that Colo, you know, the Colossus helps definitely with lots of Zerglings and allows you to just annihilate a bunch of drones if you get the chance. So.
Well, and one other thing I'd like to point out here is that Scorah actually took a lot of unnecessary damage there. He did not target fire the weak roaches, so they were firing the entire time.
That's exactly something you don't want to do in this situation where you want all of your units to survive because your all-in depends on that.
Yeah, and we do see the Immortal does get sniped now too. Now this is a really rough position for Scorah to be in. He doesn't have much backing this up. He still has yet to expand. He's just warping in units on that pylon, and if you look at his money, he can warp in some zealots, maybe a stalker or 2.
Exactly. I mean, it doesn't look like he's making any progress here. He's just continuing to throw away units without getting an expansion. Meanwhile, LaserDrill is sitting on 3 bases, 110 supply to 49.
Yeah, at this point, this is a really hard spot for LaserDrill, or not LaserDrill.
I don't know if you have the production tab up, but 17 roaches in production. There's 8 now, and a bunch of them just popped out. But that just dwarfs what Scorah can put out right now.
And actually, we do see, I believe that's level 2. It is level 2 missile attacks coming out. Now, I believe Scorah does have, yes, he does have +1 out. But the +2 of LaserDrill is just going to eat through those units because, again, you're at an upgrade advantage as opposed to, you know, just blank units.
Exactly. And still going to commit. I mean, look at that Colossus in production. Not by any means going for an expansion, and I really think that's a mistake.
Yeah, it is. I think right now, actually, Scorah is in the position where he's overcommitted too much to this, and I almost want to say he doesn't know how to get out. There
goes the expansion, actually. So
yeah, it becomes that awkward moment of, you know, what do I do now? Yeah, the 14-minute natural. Not unheard of if you're in the Bronze League.
And he's pulling everything back, so apparently he thinks that somehow he can get ahead right now, but I mean, I really don't see it happening.
You know, unless LaserDrill just sits back and, like, lets his macro slip and, you know, does all of that, yeah, there's really not a whole lot Scorah can do. His initial push failed. Now it's literally just a matter of time until LaserDrill just breaks through the front with a bunch of, whether it just be Roach Infester or, you know, Roach Infester Broodlord, Roach Hydra Infester, you know, any combination of those units is going to break down that front fairly easily.
Yeah, and the infestation pit is actually finished, so I don't know, he can actually get his hive whenever he likes.
Yeah, and he does have 4 infestors on the way. Now, it is also important to note with this game that this was before the patch of December 4th, which changed infestors. The infested Terrans have less health now.
That actually went into effect today?
Yes, it did. It did after the repair. And also one other thing to note that I saw on the camera there, we had a warp prism in the back of LaserDrill's third, and I don't think he's too concerned about it. Like, he just doesn't seem like he's... Does he even
see it? Well, we can go back and check.
Yeah, I think he does. That's within sight.
He doesn't see it.
Oh, he doesn't.
He doesn't see it at all.
So he does not see that. He is content to go ahead and take a 4th base, though.
Definitely, and considering his opponent still... I mean, he did get that natural, but his main is going to be mined out, and he'll essentially just still be on 1 base.
Well, I mean, like, the real story here comes on the income side and the supply side. Look at the income right now. LaserDrill is sitting on, like, what, 18k minerals, almost a K gas in the bank, and Scorah is just scraping on the bottom trying to get what he can. It's like you said, his main's going to be mined out here soon. You know, what do you do in this situation besides, you know, well, my timing push failed. Screw it. Let's go.
I mean, it's essentially GG at that point, and it's a little bit too early to just go ahead and leave. Though you're just delaying the inevitable, and it looks like, you know, he tried to push out there, but these roaches are going to come up here and pick off a couple stalkers, which is definitely, you know, even those few stalkers, you don't want to lose anything when you're this far behind and not be able to actually do the damage you want to do.
Oh, exactly, and that was probably the wrong move on Scorah's part to move out with this, and right now he's over 100 supply behind. So, I mean, like, you know, he has the production, he just can't keep up with it. His economy is not where it needs to be, and we do see a hive almost out now.
Good.
For LaserDrill, and oh, freaks, look at the production tab.
Dark Shrine.
He knows he's behind. That's at least a good thing.
And he does have that Warp Prism still screwing around over here between the natural and the third, just dropping a couple stalkers in. But the thing he's doing with these stalkers right now is just revealing this Warp Prism, so LaserDrill knows it's there. And there, wait, oh, those are Zealots. Okay, I thought they were DTs, but apparently not.
Yeah, and you know what? At this point, I honestly, you know, this is the point in the game where if it were me, I probably would have GG'd because I know my push failed, and to
it's
quote...
grand finals, though. I mean, what can you say?
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that I can think of that's actually keeping him in this game is, you know, never give up, never surrender. This is the grand finals. You know, you did have to fight to be here, but to quote Will Darling, our dear friend, it's kind of like a bad date. You don't want to overdo it if you have to.
Yeah.
So,
sadly, we didn't get to see him play this time around, but... And there's the Greater Spires just about finished. So.
And you like that GSL zoom in there?
Yeah. Awesome. Great job. Better than apparently better than the CSL. So.
Well, we're not going to go into that. It's about like talking about the IPL. That's just something we don't do. And we do have one DT up at the front of Scorah's base. Scorah is supply blocked right now, though, which
it's not something you want to be when the opponent has a 193 out of 200 supply.
You know, at this point, I would almost contend to say LaserDrill is probably just maxed. You know, he's saving room for Broodlords, so
which are being
you know,
produced right now.
I mean, at this point, you might as well just say he's maxed. And yes, as we were talking about that, he does go ahead and warp in 4 Broodlords right there.
Yeah, and with one Colossus, a couple Stalkers, you know, and Sentries, even with those force fields to try and block off Broodlings, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, and you know, it actually makes me. I would like to get inside the minds of these players right now. Like, what is going through Scorah's mind? You know, that timing push failed over 10 minutes ago. You know, like, what is your mindset and what's your game plan trying to get this done? Now, we do see he has a lot of gas. I would actually like to see him go into something like maybe High Templar, go with a gas heavy Archon as opposed to I'm going to warp in DTs and I'm just going to be annoying with it and
Right.
still probably not come out on top. I would like to see something effective like Archons come out of this.
We do see that LaserDrill got that 5th base, and Scorah here trying to set up a 3rd, but, you know, with this big Zerg army sitting right here, it's just not going to work at all. He's sending those Roach up, and sees what he's got. One Colossus, and he's warping in even more Broodlords, and I think this is the beginning of the end right now.
Yeah, let the slow siege begin at this point. I mean, this army from LaserDrill is basically unstoppable at this point.
Especially with such minuscule amounts of anti-air.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we see that those DTs just kind of picking away at those Roaches.
Yeah, and you know, I think those are a good touch. You know, I don't disagree with the fact of going DT, but I think his transitions were not as clean as they could have been. And I don't think his thought process was necessarily where it needed to be. Now, it does look like he does pick off 1, maybe 2 infestors here with that DT.
Yeah, I mean, they're just slaughtering these Roaches right now, and I don't think it's going to give him an edge, but it looks like, you know, he has no detection.
And Artosis has entered the building.
There we go.
It wouldn't be a tournament game if I didn't mention Artosis at least once.
We mentioned that in another game, and I can't remember who it was. It was this tournament.
I think it would have been, I think it actually was Scorah and Scipio.
Man.
Artosis is everywhere.
It looks like LaserDrill is actually backing off. We got 5 DPs here, picking out these Roaches.
So now what I don't understand coming out of LaserDrill is why not just fungal growth?
Yeah, are they low on energy? Possibly. But anyway, that really doesn't matter. We see a ton of Broodlords up here just wrecking through the main. Surprised we haven't seen a GG yet.
I would expect to see one at any point here, though. The damage that has been done, it actually happened 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's amazing that Scorah stayed in the game this long, but he's been playing from behind ever since that all-in failed.
Exactly. He never got a chance to get ahead here. I mean, since that all-in failed, just like you said, the game's been over. He's just delaying it. And pretty soon here? I mean,
sometime? I don't know.
There we go. There's a GG from Scott.
All right, anyway, there we go.
That gives LaserDrill a 1-0 lead. Yes,
it does. And I guess one more thanks to our sponsors in this little interim.
I suppose. I mean, thanks to NVIDIA, of course, ASMSU, balls. Anything else you want to say?
The MSU Hive Mind, so why not?